GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to GALP. It's me, Bish, and today we've got a very special episode where we're talking about a game that's very, very near and dear to my heart. A lot of people thinking, whoa, is this another Muso episode? No, it's not. It's actually a RuneScape episode, and you're like, what? Bish? RuneScape? Yes. Before we get into it, I'm just going to go into our disclaimer for you new folks. GALP is a weekly gaming discussion podcast under the GAL network. We talk about all sorts of games from AAA titles all the way to awesome indie games, but our forte is Japanese games, so expect that a lot. Today we are going to be talking about RuneScape. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, basically everywhere you can listen to podcasts, as well as YouTube. So remember, if you want to join in on the fun, then follow us on X. I don't like saying X, but Twitter, at GAL Podcasts, as well as our Instagram at GAL Podcasts. TikTok at GAL Podcast. Basically anywhere that you can follow us, it's going to be at GAL Podcasts. If you like what we do here on GAL, please be sure to spread the word, give us a 5-star rating on those podcast platforms of choice, as well as sharing around the show. It does help us out a lot. Big thanks to our sponsors, Crunchyroll and Japan Crate / Sugoima. So RuneScape, you're like, oh my god, Bish, this is so cringe. Why are you doing an episode on RuneScape? I don't know. I just felt like I've been playing a lot of RuneScape recently. I'll get into it in a little bit. But basically, what is RuneScape? RuneScape is a MMORPG, right? Developed by Jagex. Released originally in 2001. And it was built in browser using Java. I'm reading this off the wiki, but I do remember this back in the day, having to install and update Java and didn't know what the hell to do as like can't even remember how old I was. I think I was like, how old was I when RuneScape came out? I was born in 94. I was 6 when the millennium, so I was 7. Was I 7? Yeah. No. Was I 7? Wait, I was born on Christmas, 94. So let's say 95. We'll round it to 95. So then I'd be 6. So I was 6 years old when RuneScape came out. I never played it at that time, so I didn't play the original RuneScape. It was so many players. I think at one point it had like 300 million accounts, which is insane at that time. And for a free MMO RPG, that's just really, really incredible. Like, it became part of pop culture, became part of the zeitgeist almost. I didn't know about it until 2003 or like 2004 with the release of RuneScape 2. I'm trying to remember when it came out. RuneScape 2 came out in March, I think, 2004. Yes, that was it. RuneScape 2. RuneScape 2, which is, I think, the RuneScape a lot of people know and love. I don't know what to say much about RuneScape 2. Like, that was the one that I kind of joined. The only reason I played RuneScape 2 was because I was getting a little bit bored of Dynasty Warriors. I know it sounds a bit weird. It was a weird time for me as well because my father just passed away. So I felt like I needed to play more games. I needed to get my mind off of it, especially as like a 7 to 8 year old. So I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to play RuneScape. And because there was a lot of kids in my class, and bear in mind, this is primary school, a lot of kids in my class who had computers. Not many people did have computers back then, but the kids that did were like, dude, you need to play RuneScape. And I'm like, hell yeah, I've got a computer at home. I'm going to play RuneScape. So I did. And I didn't regret it. And then I found out that there were so many other people that were playing it. My cousins were playing it. It was a way for me to kind of get in contact with them overseas because, you know, I had cousins from Sudan and Egypt. So, you know, that was my sort of way to contact them. Almost like you'd be speaking to them in chat over RuneScape before like MSN Messenger. It's so weird, right? Like you'd be communicating with them in game and you'd be asking them, oh, so how's auntie, how's it, and it was so weird, like using it as a communication tool. But at the same time, we're just having fun. My cousins back then were members, and I was like, no, there's no way I'm going to be a member. And to this day, I'm not a member. There is a lot of content within RuneScape that you can play RuneScape, at least RuneScape Old School, without being a member. Membership opens quite a lot, to be fair with you. Opens up a lot of skills, a lot of new quests, a lot of new weapons and items and stuff like that. It does open up a lot, but I kind of find that there was never a need for me to get it. I think probably back then, I was a little bit afraid because obviously the early internet and putting in a credit card, where most credit card transactions weren't even possible to be done over the internet at that time. It wasn't widely available. And even if you were able to do it, it was just, I don't know, it just felt a bit weird paying for something online and, you know, going up to your parents and being like, hey, can I pay for a RuneScape membership online? And they'll tell you no, because they don't know what it is, right? I know there's a lot of people, especially that kind of grew up with RuneScape, who may have not gotten membership, and then towards when they become a bit more of an adult, they get memberships and stuff. But yeah, I never got membership, and I never felt the need to get one, right? My cousin had one, and I was like, dude, that's so cool. Like, he would give me stuff, and I'm like, I can't even use it because I'm not a member. And I'm like, damn it. I think at one point when he stopped playing RuneScape, he gave me his account, and he was like, oh, I've got like a year of membership on here. And I think that was when RuneScape was dying down, and he was like, dude, just, take my account, continue it on for me. I can't even remember the login for that account either, which was a bit weird. But like, the first thing I did was, because we had multiple computers at home, I'd log into his account, and then I'd log into my account using another computer, and I'd trade with myself. Because I was like, dude, I don't want to play on your smelly account. Like, I want to play on my own account, even though I'm not a member. Just give me everything. I'm just going to trade it for him. And that's what I did. If he knows this, I mean, we're old now. Like, if he finds out, he'll be really, I think, would he care? I don't know. I think he might be upset. He put so many hours into that, and I took out all of the gold. I just smuggled it. I don't think you're even allowed to do that in RuneScape. Like, trading between yourself, I think goes against terms of service. But you were kids. No one knew what was going on back then. You could do like dodgy shit in RuneScape, and it'll be fine. Don't worry. It's nothing illegal. It's just going against the terms of service of the game. Mind you, I was 8. So yeah, I think for me, it got to a point where, like a lot of games, especially growing up with them, RuneScape just instantly became cringe. And I do not know why. I genuinely don't know why. I think probably because a lot of kids at that time, as we were getting older, playing Call of Duty, playing FIFA, console gaming had become more of a thing with the Xbox 360 and the PS2 and all of that kind of stuff. Console gaming was more prevalent. And even then, it was getting into online gaming, but no one was going and playing those kind of fantasy style, medieval style games, right? Which is a bit unfortunate. I've always kind of liked those games, and that's one of the reasons why I really do like RuneScape. But like, a lot of people were transitioning away from that, and they were playing games like Gears of War and like Call of Duty, which aren't bad games by any means, but I think people kind of felt like they needed to do it because of the fad, right? RuneScape was a fad, and Call of Duty was the next fad, and I kind of feel that Call of Duty has kind of kept its momentum over the years. Like, you'll find that people that were playing Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 still playing the game to this day. I don't think there is as many people playing RuneScape nowadays. Like, I just looked now for RuneScape Old School, there was like 150,000 players, which isn't that bad, but considering the game once had, that much in a particular lobby, I think the lobby cap was like maybe 250,000. It's just insane, right? And you would go in and you'd be in Lumbridge, and it would be like so many people, and you'd have to turn off chat because it slows down everything, and you're like, what's going on? Like, and people follow you around, but can I trade with you? You don't really get that anymore. The experience in RuneScape is very, very different, at least in my personal opinion, going back after... I can't even remember when I started playing RuneScape again in 2018, and it was a bit of an on and off thing because my friend Adam was like, dude, RuneScape is coming back. It's going to be on mobiles. And I'm like, Adam, why are you so obsessed with mobile gaming? Like, this guy, I love him. He's like my best friend. He is my best friend. He's like a brother to me. I remember in uni, he was so obsessed with mobile gaming. I don't know why. Like, the guy had a PlayStation. Like, he was playing console games. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I can relate to him on a lot of things. But then he was just like, he was showing me like these mobile games. And he was like, Injustice. You need to play Injustice. And I was like, Adam, I'm not going to play Injustice. Stop making me play Injustice. Damn it. It wasn't even that good. I'm sorry, Adam. Injustice wasn't that good. And then he tried to get me onto Injustice 2. I'm like, no. Stop talking about Injustice, dude. All right, just leave me alone. And then 2018 happened. We graduated from uni, I think a couple of years after this point. And then the announcement of RuneScape Old School or Old School RuneScape. Sorry, I like calling it RuneScape Old School. It goes off the tongue better. So Old School RuneScape was a game that got re-released in 2013, which was based off a copy from August 2007. By this point, I've never played RuneScape. I think I stopped playing RuneScape around that time. So around August 2007, I stopped kind of playing it because everyone was getting back into COD and like Gears of War and all that kind of stuff, and Halo. So RuneScape Old School or Old School RuneScape opened to paying subscribers in February 2013, and then a free-to-play version came out in 2015. So I didn't even know that this was happening. And then the idea behind Old School Runescape was that it was this old version of RuneScape. I think by this point, RuneScape 3 had come out, which is like the more modern version, HD version of RuneScape. And that's, I think, is what's going on now. You have regular RuneScape and you have Old School RuneScape, and it will tell you which one you want to play. I don't know if you can swap characters over from Old School RuneScape to RuneScape. I haven't done that, and I'm not interested in normal RuneScape. I'm just interested in Old School RuneScape. But Adam told me in 2018, he was just like, have you heard of the mobile port of Old School RuneScape? And I was like, what? I didn't know this. And I was like, wait a minute, phones are good. Like, okay, back then when Adam was saying to me, oh, you need to get Injustice, like, we were talking about iPhone 4, iPhone 5 days, like, where mobile gaming was just so poor. Like, people were just playing Angry Birds, and like, they weren't playing proper games on them. Now I think we've gone to a point where you've got a games console in your pocket, right? That's basically what it is. So I was like, okay, Adam, I'll give it a chance. I'll log in. And back then it didn't let you log in with a Jagex account. It basically let you log in through Game Center. So I logged in through Game Center and I was like, yo, this is so cool. And it asked me what my name was. And as a joke, I named it after one of my professors. I was like, shit. Actually, there was two professors. I took their first name from one professor and the surname from another. And it was just like a meme account because I was thinking, oh, you know what? I'm not going to play RuneScape again in like 2018. Like I felt a little bit cringe, but I gave it a go. And me and Adam would play, and it was great. I was like, yo, this is so cool, because back then I didn't really have friends to play RuneScape with. It was just me and myself and I. Like, yeah, every once in a while I had my cousins, right? But playing RuneScape with a friend was so fun. And we would actually go on a Discord call or like actually call on our phones and stuff. And you might be wondering, Bish, how are you calling on your phone and playing RuneScape? I was playing on an iPad. That's another thing. RuneScape on an iPad is so cool. It is very difficult to get used to at first using touchscreen controls. And I kind of feel like you need an iPad to get the most screen real estate, especially back then. The screens were small when you're playing on PC, and a lot of the time they were like CRTs. Like, it didn't look that good. But playing on an iPad is so fun, especially with touchscreen controls. So much easier, you know, long pressing to basically right click and stuff like that, pinch to zoom. It just felt like the game was made for iPad and stuff like that. So yeah, no, genuinely, like RuneScape for iPad, really cool, really fun. Like, I genuinely really enjoy it, and I still do. Anyway, back onto the point. As a fan of RuneScape, I never really decided. I think back then I didn't go for quests. I just grinded. That was all I did. Like, that's all I cared about, and that's basically all I did when I was like 7. I didn't really understand how to play RuneScape, but I was like, this is so cool, getting to speak with people and like interacting with people. And I was like, hell yeah. And all I did was just like, I wouldn't stay further than Lumbridge, and I just basically kill some cows and some goblins, and then every once in a while I go to, I can't remember what the areas in RuneScape are. Like, some hardcore RuneScape fans would be like, Bish, how dare you say that about RuneScape? And I'm like, bruh, leave me alone. Like, there's that sort of Arabian area. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. I'm looking at it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I think it's called El Kharid. I think that's the name. Yeah, it's called El Kharid. You know, and you pay like your 10 coins to get in there. And I didn't know back then that there was a way to go around it and not pay the 10 coins, but I just always pay the 10 coins. Because it was 10 coins. It was like, okay, fair enough. I paid the 10 coins. I used to love that area back in the day. And, you know, fighting with like the scimitar or whatever. I can't remember. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce these weapons, but a scimitar or scimitar, I can't pronounce it. But yeah, back in the day, using those old school weapons and like, I felt a bit connected to my heritage as well, being someone that's from North Africa. So kind of like that desert area. And that's where my cousins would play as well, because they were like, oh, we're in Egypt. So hell yeah, we're going to play in this area. And they would only mainly stay in that area, which I thought was a bit weird. But I liked staying in Lumbridge because there was just everything there. And just grinding, getting up your stats. But I didn't even realize that you could change your stats depending on what weapons that you use, how you attack, if you're doing a defensive attack, if you're doing a lunge, if you're doing a chop, that kind of thing. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was all these different stats that you can do, like fishing. I didn't spend time fishing. I didn't basically play the game at all. Like, I barely played it, which was so weird now that I think about it. Come to think of it, I'm going to go and get my iPad. I sound like such a child. I'm going to go and get my iPad and I'm going to kind of run through a little bit in terms of RuneScape. So bear with me a moment. Patreon. Patreon.com/GALP podcasts. Be sure to join our Patreon for access to episodes early. You will get verbal shout outs during podcast mid-rolls like this one, access to our GAL only Discord, as well as podcast pilot previews. There are 3 tiers. There's a £3 a month tier, there's a £5 a month, and you get everything if you get that £10 a month tier. We really would love for you guys to join. It's all right if you don't. It does help out the show. It does help us run the lights on the podcast as well. So we really do appreciate it, even if you can. And even if you can't join our Patreon, make sure that you guys give the show a 5-star rating, as well as sharing it on all your social platforms, sharing it with your friends, sharing it with your aunties, sharing it with your grandma. Why not? Enjoy the podcast, share it around. It helps us sort of get further up in the algorithm and actually be able to run more ads, because we get more opportunities that way. So thank you for supporting the show, guys. Whether or not you want to subscribe on Patreon, we love you all the same. Anyway, back onto the ads. Crunchyroll. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Crunchyroll, longtime sponsor. You can go to getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll. Once again, that's getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll for a 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium. What does that mean? It means you get ad-free anime with the largest anime selection across any platform. You can watch on your PlayStation 5, Xbox, Amazon Fire Stick, you name it. That is the entire Crunchyroll library ad-free. Watch new episodes shortly after they come out in Japan. Stream on 4 devices at a time. Offline viewing for only £60 a year. Amazing. Go to getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll. That's getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll. Thank you, Crunchyroll, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. J-List. getlifepodcast.com/J-List. That's getlifepodcast.com/J-List. Use the code GAL for
5%
off anything at J-List, and that includes everything that J-List and J-Box has to offer. So that's gifts, calendars, books and magazines, manga and doujins, anime figures, apparel and cosplay, games and anime, otaku and ecchi goods as well, guys. So go to J-List, that's jlist.com, check what they have to offer and buy it there. They really have a good selection of everything. Currently at the moment, J-List is offering special orders and price matching, which means you can actually request from J-List any specific items that you want, and they can actually go and get it for you from Japan. That's actually how J-List originally started, if I'm not mistaken. We did an episode with Peter Payne, the founder of J-List, so we're actually really happy to have the sponsorship going on like we did before. They also do price matches. There is information on their website. Go to jlist.com and you can find it on their blog. Remember, once again, that's getlifepodcast.com/J-List and use the code GAL for
5%
off on everything on the website. Thank you, J-List, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Friendly reminder, guys, to join us on our Discord, getlifepodcast.com/Discord. We have all this amazing stuff that's going on at the moment. Dedicated anime channels, dedicated gaming channels, as well as places for you guys to share your content as well. We love to spread that around, so make sure that you join our Discord. That's getlifepodcast.com/Discord, as well as sharing the podcast on whatever platform you're using. If you're using Spotify, make sure that you guys are engaging with our Q&As and our polls, and just giving us a 5-star review on any podcast platform that you guys are listening to. There should also be a new feature if you are using Anchor and Spotify in general. You can send us an audio note and we'll listen to it on the podcast, and it's a great way for you guys to get directly engaged with us, which is always awesome, as well as checking us out on X at Gal Podcast, as well as on Instagram, once again at Gal Podcast, and on TikTok at Gal Podcasts. Okay, I'm back. We're going to take that opportunity to use that as an ad break, but you would have already knew if you were listening. Anyway, I'm playing RuneScape at the moment on my iPad because it's super fun, but there's so many different things that I didn't take into consideration, like your strength XP, hit points, mining. I didn't really like mining when I was playing back in the day. I thought it was useless and so boring, but I didn't realize that all of these things kind of intertwine, right? Because you mine, you get ore, you smelt that ore, you make weapons, you sell it to people, or you give it to people for free in Lumbridge. Like, that's what I'm doing now. I'm like level 30. What level am I? My combat level is like 31, which is quite a low level in the grand scheme of things, but I feel like I'm having a lot more fun playing RuneScape now than I ever did back then, because I can get to do what I want to do, like smithing and like mining and fire making. Like, there are so many things. And yes, I'm not a member. I don't have as much access to these other skills, like, for example, what skills are member only skills? Thieving, or farming, or slayer, or hunter, or construction. There's so much that I'm missing by not being a member, I'll be honest with you, but I feel like at the moment there is so much I can get out of not being a member. And I feel like once I get to that point where I'm like, okay, I need to be a member, then I'll go and get membership, because genuinely this isn't a game that I play all the time. And like I said, it's very convenient that it's on my iPad and I can just play it, and I'm shearing sheep at the moment. I didn't even know back then that you could shear sheep and turn it into thread. You know, there's like some, or like turn it into wool and turn that into like thread and ropes and stuff. I didn't even know that you could do that. And yeah, now I'm doing it. That's what I like about RuneScape. Like, after all these years, I feel like I can get so much enjoyment out of it because I wasn't playing the game properly back then. So it's almost like I'm very familiar with RuneScape. I love it, but I didn't know how to play it. So I'm like, I'm getting to enjoy it from the very beginning. I've got a lot of gold. Oh, that was another thing. Adam taught me how to trade. I didn't know that you could go and trade and do like the grand exchange thing. I didn't know that was a thing. And I was thinking, how the hell do all these people... Oh, this is another thing I used to hate. I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth because I'm remembering a lot of things as we speak. But what I used to do was I used to trade with a lot of people because I was just begging. I was like, bruh, can you give me like 1,000 gold? Like, I used to beg for that shit. And some people didn't like it. And they were like, okay, cool, I will trade with you. And they'll go into a trade. And some people were such douchebags back then. I go into a trade. And bear in mind, I'm like 9 at this point. Or 8, and I go into a trade and they put in like all of their money. Like, they'll put in like 80,000 gold, and they're like, I'll accept the trade, and they'll take it away from me. I'm like, you're teasing me, stop it, I hate you. Like, I used to get upset by it, and I was like, how the hell do they get all this money? And I thought, oh, is it because they're members and it's easier to make money as a member? No. Like, Adam was showing me how to make money, and I was like, dude, what? I went to the grand exchange, and I was like, exchanging, like, I was killing a lot of cows, getting bones and stuff, and I was selling bones, and I made like 80,000 gold coins in like 15 minutes. It was so weird. It was like, yeah, people like to buy bones. I was like, why? But I'm guessing it's probably because to level up their prayer stat and things like that. So like, selling raw materials to boost up stats really helps out people a lot. But as in, like, it'll get you a lot of money. Like, I realized that I was making a lot more money in games selling bronze bars compared to selling armor. People wanted to use the raw material to then make, you know, and level up their thing, because they might have a high mining stat but not a high smelting stat, or they might have a high smelting stat but, you know, they don't have a high smithing stat. But so it just to save them time, they'd rather just buy the bricks and just, you know, smith away, which is very useful actually. And I think now in my bank I've got 80,000 coins. In the grand scheme of things, there were people that had mil, like, oh, I've got 1.4 mil coins. Like, it was insane, right? And some people, I think in like Venezuela, were using it as a currency instead of their own currency, which is insane to think about. But to me, 80,000 coins is a lot. I'm living quite frugally in RuneScape. I think you can survive off a lot with 80,000. Like, you can be self-sufficient in RuneScape. There's a lot of things that I don't have, and I think for me, what I do like to do nowadays, because I don't know if Adam's got the time to play RuneScape anymore, but or if any of my friends actually still play, but like, if I'm listening to a podcast and I have nothing else to do, I will play RuneScape in the background and grind, much like any other RPG. Like I mentioned, I do this with a lot of other games. I was doing it with Call of Duty and stuff, and it's a nice way for me to kind of get where I want in the game, and there isn't as much community interaction. I can't remember what world I'm on actually. Let me see what world I'm on. I'm on world 326. So you can probably hear the music. I'm sorry. It's connecting me to the server. But yeah, I'm on world 326. That's the main world that I play on. But I pick a random world usually. But 326 is mine. The game is pretty dead. And I don't know if it's because of the server that I'm using, or if it's because there's not as many players as there used to be. And I think it's probably that. There's not as many players as there used to be. The community is quite small compared to how it was. But one thing that I do really like is there's still quite a lot of YouTube gamers and like Twitch streamers that still play RuneScape, and there is still quite a big streaming community around it because it's become more of a niche. So that's really fantastic. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about RuneScape. Am I gonna still play RuneScape? Yeah, hell yeah. Am I gonna try out the normal RuneScape? And by normal, I mean the current RuneScape and not transition over away from old school. No, I don't. I think I'm good with old school. I think for me to start a new game on base RuneScape and having to go through all of that again and learning the game again, and I feel like old school RuneScape is for me. And I think a lot of people also agree, because if you look at the Jagex website, it shows you how many active players are on each. There is just as many active players on RuneScape as there is with RuneScape old school. So oddly enough, they do, you know, when they're showing like on their website about RuneScape, they're showing how many player accounts and stuff, which is very interesting. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, actually, what the hell is going on? Sorry, I'm looking at this and it's saying, okay, I'm sorry. It's saying 300 million player accounts, 500 billion minutes of gameplay, 230 quests. A lot of these quests are member only. 1.4 billion franchise, top 10 game on Twitch, like I mentioned, 200 million video views and millions of players monthly, which is true. There are millions of players monthly. There isn't as many in terms of on a daily basis. Like, I'm looking at it now, it's the evening as we speak, and it's like 130,000 people playing RuneScape Old School, and there's about 150,000 playing RuneScape. There is just as many people playing Old School as there is base RuneScape, so that's a good thing. I don't really know what to feel about the other RuneScapes because there's so many others. There's RuneScape HD, High Detail, which I think that's what HD stands for, like High Definition RuneScape, and then RuneScape 3, which I don't know, like RuneScape 3, I've never, like, yeah, RuneScape 3. It's still running on, and I think actually you can play RuneScape 3 on a mobile, right? I think. I'm looking at, like, because I got a beast of a PC, like, okay, RuneScape 3 looks interesting. Like, it looks very different. I don't know. I feel a bit scared about trying RuneScape 3. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to try RuneScape 3. I'm just going to leave it and just stick to Old School RuneScape. And that's my thoughts. It's just me rambling about RuneScape. Guys, I do enjoy it. Like I said, it's not my main game. Like, I'm not hardcore RuneScape fanatic. That's why this episode isn't as fleshed out. But I still really enjoy it. And I think I kind of wanted to do this to see if other people are interested in RuneScape as well. And we're not going to see more RuneScape content. That's, like I said, it's a guilty pleasure for me. Like, I play the game when I want to relax. Like I said, I play a lot of games for reviews, so I don't really get to enjoy games for myself anymore. Even if it's titles that I do love and I do love to review, right? I think because I have to play them for work as a job, RuneScape is the only kind of game that I don't get to criticize, right? I know it's got its flaws and everything, but it's not a game that I can sit down and just criticize or say, hey, this is what we can improve. No, I just play it as it is for the nostalgia factor, and there's a lot of games like that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Big thanks to our sponsors, Crunchyroll and Japan Crate / Sugoima. I was going to say big thanks to Jagex. I don't know. Jagex, if you're listening, could you give me membership so I can try it? And then we could do another episode. Why? Okay, it's logged me out. Okay. I had it running in the background. Yeah, give me a membership. Why not? No, I'm joking. No, don't do that. Actually, let's do that. Jagex, reach out to me, and then I'll do a second episode on normal RuneScape as well, and what it is to be a member in RuneScape. I'll do a sponsored episode in collaboration with Jagex. I don't know. I didn't know this as well. Jagex is in Cambridge. What? That's insane. You know what? Come to think of it, I'd actually love to sit down and speak with the Jagex team. That would be really cool. If you guys want to see that, let me know, and then we'll do an episode where we go and visit the Jagex team. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Are we actually going to do that? Yeah. Anyway, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time.